All right, Jim Bacon is with us, as he is every Monday. He's a little later in the show today because we had Brian Kilmeade on. So Jim, of course, started baconsrebellion.com and works with the Jefferson Council trying to fix things up at UVA. And you all got a lot of attention with the story that you had about $20 million being in the budget for UVA for diversity, equity, and inclusion. What gives? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, John. Yeah, it really looks like the whole DEI thing at UVA is out of control. We worked with an organization called OpentheBooks, which is dedicated to transparency in government spending. And OpentheBooks did a deep dive into UVA's finances and its payroll, and came up with a figure of between salary and fringe benefits that the university is spending on the order of $20 million for 235 employees. That includes students and student interns, I think. But it's just this massive metastasizing bureaucracy there. And it's no sign of it slowing down or coming under control. The Board of Visitors just simply has not had an opportunity yet. They don't have the power in order to reverse this.
But why doesn't President Ryan recognize that, I'm going to give everybody a break. Maybe the intention was good at the beginning, but DEI is turning into a lightning rod net negative for the school. And you know what? The jerk on the radio at WRVA is not going to stop talking about it. I'm going to beat the hell out of them every chance I get, to be honest with you, because I'm tired of the reverse racism, and I'm not going to let them get away with it. So it would seem to me that a real leader would go, wait a minute, guys. The governor has given me direction. The elected governor, Glenn Youngkin, says he doesn't want DEI, and, we're getting the heck kicked out of us. Why don't we adjust? They just don't care, do they? They're just not going to respond to the voters of Virginia or criticism.
No, they've shown actually no sign of being responsive whatsoever. In fact, they're digging in their heels. And they have been...
Somebody's going to fire these people. Somebody's got to get in there and get rid of them.
Well, I think there's a lot of people think that way. I mean, our organization's not taking any stance on that, but there's no question that a lot of people kind of believe that you've got to start at the top. You start with the president, and then you kind of work your way down to the provost, and then you work down to the deans of the colleges and schools, and then you. But you know what? If all you do is replace a president, that's not really going to change much, because the whole DEI, you've got this bureaucracy. You've got 235 people. I mean, that's going to be a firestorm if you try to get rid of those people. If you try to do what they do in Florida, can you imagine the firestorm and all the accusations of racism and sexism and so on and so on that would occur there? Yeah, I mean, and then but it goes way beyond that. It's what OpentheBooks couldn't do is, I mean, they documented all these people within certain departments that can be readily identified as DEI, but there are all these other programs that are kind of like DEI offshoots that are, you don't see DEI in the name, but they are all kind of, their purpose is to bring about, create belonging, making sure everybody feels like they belong at UVA.
Everybody except the white students.
Well, yeah, and not a lot for them, and they're not. You don't see a lot of white males in the DEI bureaucracy either. Yeah, they're all about creating a sense of belonging, but and they do that by making sure that everybody identifies primarily. Their primary identification is by their race, sex, and gender, and as opposed to I'm really identify with other kids who like to play bridge and poker, or like to be on the cheerleading squad, or like to do this or like to do that, as opposed to like their interests or around their kind of common identity as wahoos. No, they're all kind of like chopped up on these little identity groups. And then, of course, if you're a DEI employee, what you've got to do is you've got to find reasons to justify your existence. So that means constantly searching out and being alert for like microaggressions and all sorts of
They're not going to try to get this to go away because their paycheck is dependent on it continuing. So why work to get rid of racism when you're getting paid to point it out everywhere? It's truly unbelievable. I would have expected more from UVA. I really would have.
Well, the UVA, like every other elite higher education institution in this country, has been totally taken over by ideological zealots. They're not interested in results. For example, I mean, you would think that, first of all, that if you're going to hire 235 DEI employees, that you have some sort of end goal in mind.
Right.
Like, well, okay, where are we trying to get to? And at which point we'll be satisfied and decide that we've really solved the problem. There is no end goal. Do they measure anything? They're saying, let's say, is this working? Mm-hmm. Do people feel a greater sense of belonging, or do they feel more alienated as a result of all this emphasis on race, sex, and gender? They don't. There's no metrics. They don't measure anything. It's just a perpetual motion machine.
I'm so thankful for you and the Jefferson Council and your colleagues for pointing this out, because if it wasn't for you guys, I think a lot of this would just roll under the radar and no one would be any wiser until we're stuck with a racially polarized, hostile society that we can't get out of for another 20 or 30 years. Jim Bacon from baconsrebellion.com. I always appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
9:19. Back with more in a moment on News Radio WRVA.